Yapi is asking about Sanlam. Now, Yapi, you know what? You don't see a share like Sanlam plummet from 68 to 58 in a matter of a few trading days. I mean, remember, this company is printing money. They sit on a lot of cash. The other day, I read about that they're doing new business. Their business is growing. And I mean, you see from a tiny little tweezer top, sell off all the way to the downside. And look at it, there's even a gap. I like this chart, Yapi. So, yes, we haven't got the proper reversal yet, but look at this candle there of the 11th. That gives you a beautiful lower shadow already. And look at this tiny little gap there. That gap is between 57.03 and 57.46. So I will say, if you want to buy it, I will wait for this gap. I'll buy right at the start of this gap there. I'm just going to draw you that little line in. I'll buy there. I just want to get the level again for you. 57.03. I will make use of a stop loss of 54 Rand. And I mean, look at your targets. Your targets is 59.43, 61.20. 62.59 and even 63.83. I mean, that's nearby targets. And what I've seen many a year, if you see this sell-off, then usually you get a beautiful V reversal. Now, a V reversal is exactly what it's saying. I just want to show you. There's the sell-off, and there's the V reversal. So usually that's what you see. After an ugly sell-off, you can easily see a beautiful turnaround. Stick to your stop loss, because this is telling you that there was also quite a few sellers involved in the stock, and they were maybe keen on selling the stock and they're not keen on buying. So maybe let's wait for a proper reversal, maybe that gap, and then stick to your stop loss. Nelly is asking about electrosensors, and that's on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, Nelly, what would you like me to do? Because what you see here is, you see this chart is doing absolutely nothing, working on a massive consolidation for a couple of months, and then suddenly what you see is this beautiful gap with a wonderful bullish candle to the top. Unless you maybe sent in your request a little bit late and you thought that the program is going to be a little bit earlier, and you maybe had some inside info. But if I look at this chart, unfortunately, if you did not buy the stock, I think you mustn't rush in to buy it now, because you're too late. I mean, look at this gap. I mean, this gap is sitting between 489 and 526. So either wait for this gap to close, but I think if this gap closes, everybody will be worried about and say, whoa, are we going back into this consolidation? So unfortunately, I think sit on your hands. But if you've got the stock, I mean, that's something different. Then you can actually hold on to the stock while it is above that little support. I'm going to draw it in for you. And there you are. That support sits at 562. While it is above 562, just enjoy the ride. You can maybe go all the way back to this level, and that's sitting at 660. But unfortunately, I think we are a little bit late. If you don't buy, if you haven't got the stock, rush in and buy it right now. Babu is asking about Remgro. Now, Babu, I mean, same thing like Sanlam. Look at the stock from 152, sold off all the way down to 130. And it's rare that you find that. I mean, this is a top quality company. What I see here, on the 14th, we see this beautiful, what we call every dark cloud has a silver lining panel. And that just tells you that there is some willing buyers around here. There's also a little gap there. That gap is between 136.11 and 136.50. Between that little gap, the momentum will still be down, but I think a stock like Remgro, you can definitely look at it. I mean, if you're wrong, and this is now one of the companies that I can actually say that if you're wrong and you just wait a little bit longer and you buy in again, it's such a solid company. I don't say just go and buy a lot of them. I've never seen that the company really disappoints. I mean, in 2022, when COVID was on the go, I mean, the whole world was falling to pieces. and Remgro was a buy at 100 rand. There you are, you can see. For weeks it hovered around 100 rand. And I mean, there you are at 150. It's a 50% growth after such a horrible time. So for me, I would rather say buy it, stick to your stop loss. This is truly, I think, a medium to a long-term investment. This is not for trading purposes. Such a solid company with such wonderful cash flows and business models that they've got. And remember, they came the other day out and they, with another company, made an offer to the Mediclinic shareholders, minority shareholders, to buy them out. So these boys, they've got plenty cash, good investment, and they know how to run a business. So I like the company, so I may be a little bit biased. Rix is asking about Truworths. Now, Rix, I can hear that you a lady, and if I look at this chart here, I mean a solid performer. It went as low the other day as about 48.90, and it just shows you now suddenly chart is starting to move up. There's a beautiful dragonfly doji developed on the 11th of June. That is positive for me. While this dragonfly doji is in place, that tells me that there is some buyers that bought the dip. Now, I like to look at that because if I look at the dragonfly doji, I always say to me, there is some nice buyers around there. If I look at the shooting star candle like that one, I know that there's some informed sellers. So while this low and that low, I just want to give it to you, 50 Rand and 7 cents is in place. I like Truworths, and I will say, there's my trend line. Of course, it first needs to break that trend line. You can actually say there's a symmetrical triangle forming here with that low of that dragonfly doji. So yes, I will say if you are conservative, buy it only above 54.11. Make use of the stop loss of 50.07. Unless you like this candle, you can buy it around these levels, and I'll give you a tighter stop loss. That will be the high of that candle, 51.13. And the target of this symmetrical triangle, if it plays out, let's just show you. And remember, this company, they're also sitting on loads of cash, good business people, has got a nice niche market, all the way up to 60 Rand. There's my target. So stock was sold off aggressively, and I know it's also a mid-cap. So there's a lot of analysts that like mid-caps. Stick to your stop loss. Remember, America definitely shows some cracks. And while America is showing cracks, I'm not that positive that shares can just go up and up and up. You must just be nervous. And remember, for all the viewers, in a market like this, especially a bear market in America, and we can easily fall into a bear market. Remember, that's 20% from the all-time high. A bear market gives you opportunities, but you must not be greedy. If you're greedy, it can easily knock you off the table. Israel is asking about McDonald's. Now, Israel, if I look at this chart, remember this is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's almost like Truworths. We're also sitting here on a beautiful symmetrical triangle. Now, what can happen with a symmetrical triangle, I forgot to say that while chatting on Truworths, it can either break to the upside or to the downside. But in this case, it is bang in the middle, and I'm going to say it can either go, if it drops below 231.20, it can go all the way down to 212, but on the other hand, if it breaks above 249, it can go to 260. But I just want to look at the following for you. If you look at the chart over the medium to the long term, you can see it had a beautiful rally all the way up to 270, and we are floating in this middle band. There's the, I just want to show you, there you are. If you use this line as a pivot line, you can see that we're almost playing around with this pivot, and we bang on that. So use this symmetrical triangle, use the levels to the top and the bottom as your support if you want to go long or short. I will not go long or go short on McDonald's. I mean, such a solid company, worldwide leader. I would rather say no, I'll wait for an opportunity to buy. So rather use your stop loss to buy it and hope that the symmetrical triangle can go to the upside. But on the other hand, McDonald's is also one of those companies that you can maybe buy a bit of shares on a regular basis and then just put them away. And remember, in bear markets, that's when the opportunities are. But that does not mean that you must say that the bear market will be over within 9 months or 18 months. Yes, it can be over in a few months. But on the other hand, we've learned, I checked the chart the other day, the depression of 1929, when the market fell away, it took the Dow 25 years to get to an all-time high again from that previous high that was in 1929. So don't fool yourself. Shares can go down and indexes can also go down for maybe longer than what you think. Charlotte is asking about JP Morgan. Now, Charlotte, I don't like the look of this chart. I mean, this is a worldwide player. I mean, massive bank doing a lot of business, plenty of investment banking. Look at this line. I mean, this is telling you that the momentum is clearly to the downside. And I mean, look at it. If it sells off in a bang. And I actually want to say to you, it can maybe surprise us and maybe move a lot lower in this band. I just want to draw it in there. You can see. There you are. Look at this ugly descending channel. I mean, and if I draw this line in and I extend it a little bit, I'm a little bit nervous that maybe JP Morgan can maybe go all the way down to 907. There's just something else. Sorry, not 907, but 106. What I want to say to you is that a descending channel, on the other hand, is eventually a positive formation. So one day, maybe on the show, we'll see it breaks through this resistance line and wants to move up. Then we'll look at buying it. But for the moment, unfortunately, I will not touch it. I will wait for it to make some consolidation, higher lows. So I will just sit on my hands and I'm actually doing nothing. I'd rather buy that Sanlam and that Remgro that I showed earlier in the program and go and buy a JP Morgan. Well, thank you for chatting with me and all the best, and visit our website www.fransklerk.com and we'll chat again.